not record it. Karamo Brown, thank you very much for joining me on Under the Skin. I'm a tremendous fan of yours.
Thank you. I'm a tremendous fan of yours.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
So, I'm a fan of Queer Eye. I've watched pretty much all of them. Me and my wife, it's family viewing for us. And already from our brief chat, I've seen you being charming with my wife, Laura, there, and my kids. The little bit of information that you just said in passing was that you made the decision, or the decision was made through you guys collectively with Queer Eye, to make it a positive as opposed to a cynical and condemning show. How did that come about?
The five of us, when we got cast, they did a big audition where they brought in, they auditioned thousands of people from around the world, and they whittled it down to 200 or 100. That number is debatable amongst all of us. And in that audition, that chemistry test, we were always the ones that wanted to give information and help. Where some of the other guys would come out the room and we would say, what just happened in there? And they would say, oh, I can't tell you. I'm in competition with you. Where the five of us would say, we would go in a room, we'd come out and we would say, oh, what information do you want? This is what they just did in there. This is how you should practice. And I think that bled over into when we all got it, because we immediately wanted something that was just really giving and just really just full of love. None of us wanted to be snarky. I remember we did the first guy, and immediately we were all there was so much that you couldn't make fun of, quote unquote. But it was we just wanted to just shower him with love.
That was the Harley Davidson guy, the first one.
Yes. And we just we're no, we just want to show you love. We just want to show you that you're okay and that you're good and that life's going to be okay. And at first they were no, make a lot, rip up the house and do a lot of things, which was a throwback to the old show, which was a great show, but we've evolved. And I think because we stayed strong together, that they were oh, this is working. And we have amazing producers, so I don't want to keep it all on us. Their editing and everything is phenomenal. But yeah.
It's very encouraging, though, that perspective was a success, because I think that we assume often, say, for example, when people talk about social media, they go, oh, no, what people like on social media, they worked out the algorithm is negative information, destructive information gets spoken about more, gets reposted more. But Queer Eye is a sort of defiantly optimistic show, sort of loving, and then a number of times I've been reduced to tears. I feel all right, periphery of tears. My wife, actual tears. I feel actually, I'm clinging on as best as I can in your company to the vestiges of what I've been programmed as conventional masculinity, as I abandon all my beliefs about myself.
Let it go.
Leave that on the shore, for God's sakes. It's not helping me. But I remember the one where that guy came out to his sort of stepmom. That one was, I think I remember saying, I don't think I've ever seen anything on television that's that powerful and beautiful.
Yeah. Well, first of all, when you talk about the fact that people assume that people only gravitate to more negativity because of reality television or social media, I think it does a disservice when that narrative gets passed on, because human beings, we are multifaceted. We are happy, we are sad, we're giving, we're selfish, we are so many different things. And to assume that people only go to social media or reality television just for one side of themselves is damaging, and also makes you think that the human condition is limited, and it's not. And I think that narrative is what screws us up. And when you see that episode with that young man who finally felt comfortable because of the support he got from us of sharing his truth with his family, it was because we went in there in the same vein of, you can be professional, you can be a party animal, you can be loving, and you can still have fears about the things that are unknown to you. And so we don't try to go in and just say you're just this one thing because of what we see. We're all multifaceted, and I think that we do ourselves more of a service when we realize, you're not just one thing, and it's okay. I want to appreciate all of you.
I like that. So both socially and individually, we're multifaceted individuals, but you feel that certain media platforms, and perhaps, we could argue, maybe media in general, has a tendency, a bias towards the negative.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thing to observe.
Well, it's because when people make fear-based decisions, they're more likely to believe they're not the authority of their own life. They're more likely to believe someone else is the authority, and thus you have to believe that authority. So if I push fear on you, you're going to assume that you can't make a decision for yourself, or that one part of yourself is not good enough because I've told you that it's not. So now you're going to look to me for all the validation and all the direction you need. And I think when we can encourage people to make more love-based decisions and to believe that they are not just one thing and they don't have to be fearful of any sides of them, is when they're able to see full growth, full love, full humanity, full everything. And that's what I try to encourage, especially in my category on the show, being the one who fixes the emotional and the mental, is no more fear-based decisions. No more believing that you're not the authority of your own life. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to be appreciative of every side of yourself. And that's what people need to start understanding.
It's very difficult, isn't it, Karamo, to invite people to break through those patterns. I was struck there by what you said about fear, and that fear takes away personal autonomy. You see the world as an oppressive or as the guiding force of your life, and you just sort of cast around not having any personal authority. I think that's an important observation. A little more about the construction of the show. How early in the process did you five meet each other and or get to do castings together? How early was that?
So they did a year and a half of casting around the world, and then they narrowed it down to that number. And so we didn't meet each other until this 3-day weekend where they brought that final 100 to 200 guys together. And ironically, the 5 of us became close within an hour and a half of the first meeting. So myself and Bobby met first, and we didn't separate. Then Tan came over, and he didn't separate from us. Then Anthony came over, and then last was Jonathan. And it's ironic because none of us were even curious if we were in the same category or in different categories. We just felt the desire of, you want to help, you're here to have fun. And these other people, who were great as well, I don't want to take away from them, were here to compete. And I believe in the law of abundance. There's enough work, enough love, enough happiness for all of us. And I think that in that moment, people were so scared that there wasn't enough for them that they started to feel like, I have to take. And that's why we gravitated to each other, because we were like, if we don't get this, someone else will get this. And this was for them. And then what is for me will come next. And whatever lessons I got from this, I'll use for the next thing. And we were all very adamant on that. And it wasn't until the second day that we realized that we were in 5 different categories and we had made it to the 3rd round. And we were like, oh my gosh, the 4 people I connected with in the first hour, we're still here and we're not competing. We're all in different categories. And I think that helped us get the show.
That's really lovely, right? Because for all you knew at that point, Jonathan Van
could have been the culture guy, and then it would have been like, do you go with the more serious one or the more funny one, so but luckily he was here, so I had a job.
Had to compete with that guy.
It was good.
So you say that your category is culture, but how it seemed, at least to a viewer, is that you're there for psychotherapeutic, counseling type information. What is your background in that, and how have you ended up in that position?
Yeah, sure. So the culture term is actually a throwback to the original show. So the original show, the gentleman who had my position was a Broadway star and an actor. And so it made sense that he introduced people to theater and movies and gave tickets away. And I'm a mental health expert. So I worked as a licensed social worker and a psychotherapist for almost 12 years before deciding to make the transition to television, because that was always my childhood dream. And so for me, it was, I'm going to be the mental health expert here because I love what my brothers do. They are phenomenal hairdressers, phenomenal designers, phenomenal fashion people, phenomenal cook. But when you come into someone's home, if they haven't changed their pattern behavior in 10, 15, 5 years, that means there's something at their core, emotional core, mental core, that's stopping them. And so, great, sure, we can really walk in and change that and then leave. But if we really want to see long lasting change, there needs to be somebody who's focusing directly on, why haven't you done this? Because yes, we're the authorities in this situation of like, we are coming here to tell you what to do. Air quotations on the authorities, because people are really the authorities of their own life, and we try to help people to make those decisions with us. But it's really figuring out, okay, if you haven't cut your hair in 20 years, that's not quote unquote normal behavior. Most people will get a haircut. Why did you not feel the need to get a haircut? And to start to dig there, and then you start to realize, oh, there was a part in your life where you felt embarrassed, you felt unloved, you felt unsupported, and that's the reason that you just gave up on doing things that you once did. And so that's where my goal is, and that's what my point is.